Good morning, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our second workshop with the Area Agency on Aging down here in South Alabama. We have a great workshop for you today. It's going to be on the Aging and Disability Resource Centers, and we will be getting started in just a second. And while we are waiting for a few more folks to join us, we have a poll for you to answer. So let me pop that up. And if you can answer this question, have you ever heard of the AAA? Yes or no? Once again, we'll get started in just a few minutes. We'll make sure we've got a good group of folks here. And if you have questions during the presentation, please remember to ask those in the chat. We will go through them. And I also apologize for not having my camera on today. I am Dorothy Dorton. I'm with AARP Alabama, and I thank y'all all for coming today. Every time I turned my camera on, it would crash my Zoom, so I figured it was safest not to have that on today. But I appreciate you all being here. Thank you very much. And I am going to get started with introducing a wonderful lead volunteer who I'm so happy to be able to see her face on Zoom because I've missed seeing her in person. But Miss Gina Hitchens is one of our lead volunteers, and she is going to talk to you a little bit about AARP today and introduce our presenter. So Miss Gina, I am giving it to you.
Thank you, Dorothy, and I so do miss you as well as all the AARP volunteers as well. And I am Gina Hitchens, AARP volunteer, and I would like to welcome you to this presentation this morning. And AARP empowers people to choose how they live as they age. AARP is a nonpartisan 501c4 that has over 420,000 members in Alabama. That's a big difference. AARP's role is to advocate for those 50 plus and their families, regardless of politics. A few things before we get started today. Make sure you mute your microphone, put that on mute. And if you have a question for our presenter, please add it to the chat box. And as Dorothy mentioned, please be aware that this presentation is being recorded. So thank you so much for attending today. Now I would like to welcome our presenter, Christina Boyington. And before she starts, I'd like to just read a little brief biography of Christina. Christina Boyington is a licensed clinical social worker and has been employed with the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission Area Agency on Aging for the past 10 years. She has served as the coordinator of the Aging and Disability Resource Center, acronym ADRC, for the past 5 years and worked as an options counselor and case manager prior to her current role. Mrs. Boyington received her Master's of Social Work from the University of Alabama and her Bachelor of Science degree from Spring Hill College. She is married and lives in Baldwin County with her husband. May we all welcome Christina. And now I turn it over to you, Christina. And
thank you so much. Thank you, Miss Gina and Dorothy, for the opportunity to present today and the wonderful introduction. And as Miss Gina said and Dorothy said, today's presentation is going to be about the Aging and Disability Resource Center. So if you could switch to the next slide for me, Dorothy, please. Okay. The Aging and Disability Resource Center is commonly referred to as the ADRC. And the ADRC is basically the front door to access any services or programs that the Area Agency on Aging offers. So what the ADRC's role is to provide free counseling to any potential clients, their caregivers, or anyone else, maybe professionals that are seeking some information and assistance for anyone who is elderly and disabled in the service area of which we serve. This office, the Area Agency on Aging, serves Mobile, Baldwin, and Escambia counties. So how we do that is we assess the client's needs by conducting a short interview and collecting some information, and that information will help us determine which programs that we can offer the person. The Area Agency on Aging also completes referrals to the programs for the individual that are the programs that are in the AAA office, so they don't have to worry about, well, who else do I need to call, or who else do I need to talk to get my loved one or this person I'm trying to help on this program. So we try to make the process as easy and as smooth as possible. Sometimes there are services that the Area Agency on Aging cannot help them with. We don't offer the program, or the services are something that we don't provide. So we do discuss those services and those referrals with the person who's calling in at the point that they're calling, to let them know that there's something else that they may need to do. And so we try to help them that way as well. Another service that the Aging and Disability Resource Center provides is we provide benefit screenings. And I'll go into these things a little bit more in detail later in the presentation, but basically a benefit screening is a screening tool that we use to let people know, hey, you may qualify for this benefit. You may not even know that it's out there and you qualify for it. And so we try to educate people about benefits and offer assistance for them to apply for the benefit and to help them get all the benefits that they are entitled to. So if you could please switch to the next slide. So the interviews with the clients, the caregivers, and the professionals that I mentioned earlier, 90% of that is conducted by phone, or pre-COVID, we were having some in-office interviews as well. We accept walk-ins, or did accept walk-ins before COVID. Right now, the walk-ins are suspended. We don't have any visitors in our office, as I'm sure a lot of you can understand that that's a safety precaution that we're taking right now. But we are accessible by phone. We are also accessible by fax and by email. So what we do is, like I said, we do a short interview. It typically lasts anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes, but depending on the situation, it can go longer than that, or it can be a little bit shorter. Some of the information that we'll need is the client's name, address, phone number, and date of birth, their current living arrangement, their monthly income, and we would actually need the gross amount of what their monthly income is. So that would be before anything is deducted, like Medicare premiums or any sort of things like that. Also, we would need to know if they're a veteran and any kind of health insurance coverage that they have when they're calling for benefits. And also we would need to know just kind of what their current medical situation is, if they've been hospitalized recently, and just information about what their daily needs are as far as activities. Do they need help getting in and out of the bathtub, getting dressed after they've had a bath, cleaning up their house, cooking meals, things like that. And we use this information to determine which of the programs that we offer would best meet their needs, and also any outside services that maybe another agency provides that we can best match them with those services. So if you could please go to the next slide for me. Okay, so part of the other part of the interview process that we do is called options counseling. And this is after we've received all the information from them as far as what their situation is. This is the part where we give them the information. We basically review the services that are offered by the AAA with the caller, and then we offer to make the referral for them. And that can be completed upon the client's request. We really don't want to do anything without the client's consent. Some of our programs, as I mentioned before, have age and income requirements. That's part of the reason why we ask those questions when they first call in. And then several of our programs are going to have waiting lists, and that can vary. That can vary by program, and that can also vary by some programs may receive additional funding at certain points in the year. So it can vary throughout the year how long the waiting list is. And we try to be upfront about the waiting list when the clients call, so they're not expecting anything immediately or anything like that. And we can also try to, if they do have immediate needs, we can try to help them find a solution if they have to be placed on a waiting list, you know, an immediate solution for what their needs are. Let's see here. Okay, if they don't meet the eligibility requirements for the programs that are offered by the AAA office, we can notify them of some other available resources. For instance, maybe if they're over the income limit for one of our programs, or they're not quite old enough, something like that, we can provide them some alternative, maybe private pay resources, or you know, something, maybe another office that has that similar service. So we try to best meet their needs when they call in. If you could switch to the next slide for me, please. Okay, and this goes along with what I was just saying. Some of the resources that we don't offer, or the services that we don't offer, for instance, transportation is a really big need that unfortunately isn't something that we can offer. So we try to make referrals to clients that are based on where they live, what they need help with. And so we try to give them as many resources as they can. And again, we discuss, you know, the client may have to make another phone call or may have to fill out another application that we are not able to help them with. So we try to help them explain what they're going to have to do and how they may be able to get to the next step so they can receive the service that they're asking for. And we do partner with several agencies, so that can help with the referral process. Sometimes we have to make a phone call on the client's behalf to another agency to explain what the client's situation is, and maybe the other agency should reach out to the client instead of asking the client to make another phone call. So that's just based on the individual situation of the person. But sometimes that is just something that we have to take a few more steps to make sure that the person gets what they're needing help with. So if you could go to the next slide for me. Okay, so the benefit screenings and application assistance that I mentioned earlier is part of the first initial call that the client makes. The ADRC staff they are trained in some of the benefits for seniors, and that screening is kind of an automatic thing that's done when the client is being interviewed. Some of the benefits that we screen for include the Medicare Savings Program, the Extra Help Program, SNAP, LAHEAP, and then the Senior Farmers Market. And they, again, some of the benefits do have age and income requirements, so that's part of the screening process. If someone is eligible for the benefit, we will let them know that they are eligible for it, and we offer to help them with the application. The application assistance does need to be requested, and we can, sometimes it's a paper application, so we can mail the client the application to complete it. A lot of times they'll have to sign it or something like that. Maybe additional documentation is needed for the application. So they do have to do a little bit of legwork sometimes. And some of the applications can be completed online. For instance, the farmers market is going on right now. And that is an online application. So most of the callers that we have that request the farmers market benefit, we help them fill out the application online. So if you could go to the next slide for me. Okay, so how do you contact the ADRC? As I mentioned before, we are part of the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission office, and we are accessible by phone and email and fax. Our telephone number is 251-706-4680, and our email is aginginfo@sarpc.org. But I do know that this presentation is available in other areas. So if you're not in one of those counties, you can go to the Alabama Age Line, which is part of the Alabama Department of Senior Services. That is our department that supervises us in Montgomery, the state department that we're under. And so they do have a map. I believe the map is one of the next slides, but that would tell you where your area agency on aging for your particular county is located and how to get in touch with them. They do also have an 800 number if you would rather just call them. Thank you, Dorothy. 1-800-243-5463 is the Age Line telephone number. There are AAA's, Area Agency on Aging offices nationwide. So, it's not something that's just here in this area or in the state of Alabama. And if you're out of state or you have a relative out of state that may need some help, you could locate the AAA for that particular area using the Elder Care Locator, which is the part of the Administration for Community Living. And that information is listed below. Their phone number is 1-800-677-1116. And then their website is eldercare.acl.gov. So I think that should be that next slide. Oh, we have another question.
All right, folks, let me unmute myself real quick. We're going to have another question. So I think most everybody had said that they had heard about the AAA, so that's great.
Good.
So now we want to ask if, now that you've heard a little more, what are your plans as far as contacting them? So if you could answer this poll for us real quick. And if you've already answered it, and you have a question, please feel free to ask that question in the chat because Christina is here to answer those for you. All right, I'm going to keep this poll open, but I do want to go to the next slide. If anyone has any questions for Christina, again, please put them in the chat. We'd love to hear your questions. I know there was a really good question we could from last time, maybe that Christina, you could maybe answer for us as
Okay,
well.
sure.
And it was a good friend of someone who was in the throes of caregiving.
Mhm.
Can friends kind of call the ADRC and kind of help get guidance on, you know, if they see someone kind of struggling in their caregiving journey, or they see somebody who may have a need? Does that help at all, or does it give them some suggestions to talk to their friend about,
It
possibly?
does. Yeah, it does. And I'm glad you asked that question, because we do actually get that pretty
Hmm.
frequently. People calling in, for their friend or maybe a neighbor that they have, or somebody that they know that's a little bit isolated and maybe needs some help. Now sometimes they don't have all the information that we need.
Right.
Like, say for instance, their income information is something that's pretty sensitive to a lot of people. So
Hmm.
we do kind of explain. We try to get as much information as possible, though,
Hmm.
when the person calls in. And so if they don't have all the information, or they're calling for a friend or someone like that, we
Hmm.
do tell them, if you could go back and talk to them, try to get the information that we still need.
Hmm.
And then, contact us again. Or sometimes they say, I'd rather not do that. Can I just get them to call you, or can you call them? And
Hmm.
that's something that we will do as well, is to call somebody that maybe hasn't contacted us, and just
Right.
say, hey, we heard that you might need some help. Can we talk to you? And we'll take it from there. And usually the people are pretty receptive
Hmm.
to getting some help if they really need it. So they'll go ahead and give us the information that we need to be able to
Excellent.
screen them. Mhm.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. That's really good to know. And
Yeah,
I also neglected to say, but happy Social Work Month to
thank
you,
you.
and thank you for all you and your colleagues do, because I know it's
Thank you.
a big job. So let's
Yeah.
see. I am going to go ahead and end the poll so we can get some more information out to y'all. And again, please, if y'all have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. You'll see now the 1-800-AGE line. And there's also a specific number too, if you're calling from a cell phone, or outside of your county, you can call. But if you call the AGE line, even if you're on a cell, you just tell them where you are and they should be able to direct you.
Mhm.
But there are area agencies in aging, and area councils on aging all throughout the state who do offer these services. So while I'm really lucky to be able to work with the South Alabama Regional Planning Commission's AAA and awesome folks like Christina, and last week like Della, you do have the availability to get in touch with folks in your area if you are not in the South Alabama area. And again, here's the way to locate. If you go to alabamaageline.gov in general, you can find a lot of this information. And but if you go to the AAA-Locator, you'll also be able to find a map that kind of gives you shows you where your local area agency on aging is and how to get in touch with them. So that's pretty handy dandy right there. And I am putting it in the chat right now so it's easier for you guys to click on. And I know one of the things that you mentioned was the SHIP program and the Medicare, and which is the Medicare stuff and the Senior Rx programs. And Christina, I think you're kind of on the front line of everything, with the area agency on aging and all of their
Right.
services. So
Mhm.
you're the front line for all of this. So we really appreciate you being here and kind of telling us how to get started.
Yeah.
And being there to answer all those phone calls and everything. And you mentioned, like I said, the SHIP and the Senior RX program, and we're going to have James Roberson on next week to talk about those specific programs. They're really great programs. James has been on with me before to talk about it on my Wisdom Wednesday live Facebook show, and he's just a delight to work with, like Christina is. And I'm putting the registration information for that in the chat right now too.
Can I
But
just say that I've really encouraged everybody to attend all of these presentations, but James has really, really good information about Medicare and some cost savings programs and things like that. So if you deal with older adults, or you are an older adult that maybe has some medical issues or medical questions about your insurance in particular, his presentation would be a really good one to listen to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the one that we had last week is recorded and up on Facebook, not Facebook, I'm sorry, y'all, YouTube. I'm figuring out how to correctly edit and upload things to make them work right. So it takes me, it's all a learning process with all of this fabulous technology we have. So I am learning all of that, but we are getting those up so you can go back and look at them at any time. As well. And so when this one is up and recorded, I will send everyone who's registered for this the link when I have it up on YouTube, so you can go back and look at it. And here again is just another is our schedule that you can look at. And we have one website where you can go and get all of those or register for all of those. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to do too many things at once. So I'm pasting that in the chat as well. So again, next week we will have James on. He's got some really great information. Like Christina said, you know, it's one of those things where I'll probably have him on again during open enrollment in October, because there's just so many things out there and so many different, you know, marketing ploys and tools and stuff that these companies use to try to encourage you to go with their Medicare plan. And this is such a great free service that you can just call and say, okay, here are my needs, my medical needs, you know, here's what I'm looking at. What do you think is the best for me? So, you know, that, and it's completely unbiased, you know, it's just such a valuable thing to have to help you navigate all of that confusion. You know, and it's really good. James is really good at letting you know, what the folks who are selling all of this stuff can and can't do. So, you know, for instance, they can't just call you out of the blue. You know, I did not know that. That was something that James taught me. So he's got a lot of great information for that. And coming up after that, we've got the Ombudsman program. And this is for folks who are talking about, you know, they're advocates for folks who are in long-term care facilities. So these are folks that can really help out if you have a loved one in a long-term care facility and you have concerns, or if they have concerns. Ombudsmen are there to help advocate and protect for their rights. And then we'll have just a good rundown of what area agencies on aging are there for. And then we'll have information on the Medicaid waiver and personal choice programs, which are really great. And then finally, we'll finish it up with legal affairs, talking about things that you can contact the area agency on aging for, as far as legal affairs like wills, planning, estate planning, things like that. So again, anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. I want to thank Christina so much for coming on and talking to us about it today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And all the hard work you do. I know during this pandemic, it's been extra hard because like us with AARP and outreach, y'all are used to being out in the field and out visiting and chatting with folks. And I know it's got to be hard for you to be kind of like I am behind the technology camera. So thanks for coming out and learning all of this with me. We really appreciate it.
And I just want to say thank you for everybody that attended today's presentation. I hope you learned about our program and our agency, and you'll attend the rest of the session. So
yes, thank you for joining, everyone. We really appreciate it. And Abby F commented, thank you. And we thank you for joining. And yeah, folks, just be sure to tune in next week. We will have same time. We'll have the SHIP and Senior RX. And I know I talked a lot about SHIP, but Senior RX is great too because it's a prescription discount program. So I'm really excited to hear more about that as well. Let's see, Miss Pauline, this information is very helpful as I am trying to help a friend in caring for her husband. So yes, Miss Pauline, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Pauline, but she was the one with that great question about her friend last week. And we appreciate you joining us again. So all right, folks. Well, I think that wraps it up. Again, I want to thank Christina and I want to thank Gina for being our lead volunteer and introducing Christina today. And folks, again, you've got the information in the chat. I will have this recorded. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And y'all have a great weekend, rest of your week and weekend. And Christina, again, I thank you so much.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad everybody attended today.
Yes, I am too. Thanks, folks. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.